This is the Page Publishing Book Club. How you doing? How you doing over there, Robbie? How are you doing, our faithful Page Publishing Book Club fans? This is the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stackton Rossini, along with my engineer, Rob Barrett. Survival, reinventing yourself, and love. That's what our authors are talking about this week. All very relatable topics because they're part of life's journey sooner or later for all of us. Wouldn't you agree, Rob? Yes, you would. So it's something to think about when you're looking for a topic to write about. We're going to start off with Ann Reichert. We talked to her, I think it was almost 2 years ago, when she wrote about finding love online. Now, maybe that's something millennials are used to, but how about a woman in her 50s? Ann got thrown a curveball in the prime of her life and found herself in search of companionship. And she turned that search into a project that she's now turned into 2 books. Her first book was The Dance Card, and now she's back with The New Dance Card, Looking for Love Online. Welcome back, Ann. So what's with this new book?
Well, in the first book, it just chronicles my beginning journey, after a 30-year marriage and then divorce. And I was 56 at the time. Where does someone go to, look for love? So this was something that I was thrown into. And so I entered the online dating scene, and I chronicle that journey, just delineating what to do, how to navigate through the technology of online dating. And that's what the first book is about. And the title, The Dance Card, talks about 10 particular guys that I had met online and how they were all different. And I gave them each an alter ego name associated with a dance, just like I had as a young girl. Growing up, we had dances and with dance cards, say like the waltz, the cha-cha, the salsa. So I have 10 dancers, and I've named them according to dances. So that's the first book. And I learned a lot. There are quite a few messages that, I delineate in what I learned in those few years. But my second book is a continuation. Where are they now? Why? Why are they married or not, or still single, and are they still looking online, and what is the reason for that? And then I do continue a dialogue with most of them and have connections with most of them, again, even after a few years not, seeing them, and how our relationships might have evolved with those 10 guys and how they ended, a final ending. And then I open up a new dance card with 10 new ballroom dancers.
Nice.
So it's a continuation of dating multiple men and figuring out, well, who is going to be right for me in the end? And is there somebody that's going to be appropriate for me as a 65-year-old woman? And, how is it going to work? Because there's just so many challenges that come along with people of our age, number one. What are we really looking for? We definitely become more selective. And we have already had our history and our memories in our family. Do we want to have another family enter into our life? And, there's just lots of challenges that go along with deciding who you want to be with again, if that is what you want to do.
It just seems the older you are when you're out there, the more baggage that comes with everybody you date.
Yeah, I'm finding that out. And the other thing is, majority of people do this online dating thing because it's an ego booster. And it's very easy to discard. You have pictures of the person, you just swipe, and you don't like what that one looks like. You don't like what they've written on their profile. So it's easily discarded, whereas back in the day, you had just a few people that you might have met along the way or had a blind date or something. And then you make it work, or you fall in love or whatever. But today, I think the selective process and having parameters in terms of specifics about a guy or a gal is very important, because you don't want to end up being unhappy again for whatever reason. And a lot of men, this is what I've experienced, go in with this unrealistic idea about, oh, well, I want to find the love of my life, my soulmate. That in reality, that sounds terrific, but then when you meet them, it's like, I don't think we have a connection here. It's not going to work. Frankly, they don't want to end up with one person. They want to see what is the next best thing on their little dance card.
Very interesting. You've turned this into like a scientific project.
Kind of, but that's, this is my journey. But I am hearing from a lot of young people too, that they find that this is, the women now have careers and they have become financially secure and they don't feel like they really need, not that that's the reason we got married before, but certainly, our ideals were different. Wanted to get married, have kids, live in the pretty little house in the neighborhood. And that's not the way it is today at all.
No.
Relationships are disjointed, easily discarded, and not many people are really able to connect for a long-term relationship. Even the young people, it's really very sad.
It is, but you know what? I really believe the pendulum will swing back and
You're
they'll go
right.
like, I'm not doing online dating. Whenever I talk to my kids' friends or whatever, I'm like, what do you enjoy doing? Surfing? Meet somebody surfing. Mountain climbing? Meet somebody mountain climbing. What is it you like to do? Meet somebody in that area of interest.
They do have online dating sites that will cater to those particular interests, which I think is a smart thing to do. And they've got meetups, for people that are interested in tennis or knitting or basket weaving or whatever. And a lot of times that does work, but still there are the parameters. Even if they have that, that same interest, it's not going to guarantee you that you're going to be compatible. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Weeding through and dating, it's a lot of work, and it almost gets to be, it's not a job, but well, for me, it's been 11 years. It's been enlightening, and I met a lot of wonderful guys. I mean, it's been fun, but it's a job.
Yeah. Right.
I don't look forward to it a lot of times, and knowing that, I don't think it's going to work out. I don't go in with the idea that it's not going to work out. I'm always, pleasant, obviously, but it's interesting. It's been very interesting.
Well, thank you, Anne. And there's one more book on online dating coming. So stay tuned for that. You want to talk about reinventing yourself? For our next author, Paula Jane, it's her mission in life. And she details her journey in her book entitled Bloom Where You Are Planted. Paula.
I've led this full life with a lot of kids, one with special needs, large network of family, friends, traveled extensively, lived in a lot of different places in the U.S., and I've just been having a life of reinvention. I've stepped out of my comfort zone. I embrace new people, new experiences, and folks have said to me, you should write a book. And I thought about it. I said, okay, why not? So I've been thinking about this for 10 years. And another reason is I have 4 daughters and 2 grandkids, and I want them to have their grandmother's legacy. I wish my grandparents had done this.
So is it about inspiring people to step out of their comfort zone and do things they never thought they would do?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole crux of my memoir. I mean, I would love to be able to help other people say, wait a minute, my kids are grown. I've got this whole life in me and energy. This lady did it. I want to do it too. And especially for baby boomers. I know, and there's a lot of people like me, your mind is never at rest, and in the middle of the night I get an idea, I pop out of bed and I get to work on it. Finishing all the work was such a relief because now my resume will say published author. It's like a really sizable notch on my belt, and those who know me say it's a belt full of astonishing surprises.
First, you survived being molested as a child.
Yes.
And you didn't really get great grades in a Catholic school. You graduated magna cum laude from Emory.
Then I worked for President Carter and then CNN in Atlanta. And then I came up to New York and worked for CNN Financial News.
So you kept it together to get your kids through school and to get them situated. Your husband was the president of Mack Trucks. You had to move them around. You had to keep the family together. And then when you went back to school, what did you do?
Well, when I went back to school, I was balancing taking classes and then coming back home and watching my kids in lacrosse practice, and I was finding I needed to reinvent myself. And I'm always looking, what am I going to do next? That's really something that every woman goes through. I hear it so often. They see their kids graduate from high school, they go off to college, and they go up into their room and they just cry.
What did you end up doing? I see ski instructor, airline passenger service. Tell me what you ended up doing and what you're doing now.
After I worked for CNN Financial News, then I went into real estate. I was selling commercial real estate in Long Island. And then I became a personal trainer. Now I just do a lot of volunteer work around the community from church and homeless shelters and so forth. And I'm a mounted auxiliary park ranger in Central Park with New York City Parks. I've always had this love of horses. Everything around me is an opportunity. I saw somebody on a horse with a uniform. I said, I want that job. How'd you get that job? So I just kept on persisting and persisting. It took me maybe 18 months to 24 months to get the job because I kept on calling and emailing and calling and showing up and being a pest. And I finally was called back, and then they had academy training, a little study. You had to know how to work your radio. We're peace officers. People from other countries will come and see somebody on a horse, and these horses are gorgeous. They're huge. They're great big draft-style horses.
You don't get paid.
No, but I am on the board.
You know, it's got to help. You know, you don't have to worry about the bills. I'm assuming that your husband makes enough money that you're able to kind of take these risks and, you know,
Oh,
extend
yes,
yourself.
you're-
That's really key, because if you're holding
You
up the
know
roof,
what?
it's really hard to just go out there and say, you know, I want to do this now. You know,
You make a very, very good point. You're right. I mean, I could sit around and go to the spa and get my nails done. But you're right. My husband has even said to me, "No, I've been your support." He is now retired, but the fact that he worked and he made a very nice salary to support all of us. Yes, you're right. If I had to go work on the assembly line or something like that, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this. So that is something that maybe not everybody can relate to. And that's,
you know what? The bottom line is what everybody can relate to is being a woman of a certain age, and you need to be able to keep moving forward and not feel like your life is over because your kids have left the nest. And finding someone like you who's done it is awesome. Our next author is pretty awesome too. Teresa Smith has a story about surviving a life-altering experience and living to tell about it. The name of her book is Life Goes On, and you survived a severe head injury, right?
Yes, and
What-
a spinal cord injury. This happened in Texas in 1981. I got hit by a car, left in a coma for 6 months. My mom never left my side. She held my hand and talked to me and read to me and played music, and she said, "I'm here whenever you wake up." I was baptized for death, so many blood transfusions. I had a bolt in my head to stop my brain from swelling, a chest tube from where my lung collapsed. My bladder was damaged. My kidney was damaged. My spleen was broken, so within a year I developed scoliosis. I was on life support. My brain was still active, but they wanted to take me off life support, and my mom said no. As long as her brain's active, there's hope.
How old were you?
I was 6, and the doctor said if I were to wake up, I would be mentally retarded and wouldn't be able to do other things that other kids could do. And I'm still here. And they said that person with a spinal cord injury was only supposed to live 5 to 10 years due to bed sores and infection. And I'm still here, and I never had a bed sore.
Have you had to stay in bed your entire life?
Oh, no. I'm up and moving.
When you came out of your coma, were they astounded that you came out of this coma?
Yes, my accident happened in Texas, so we had to flown back here to Detroit, Michigan, where I was at Children's Hospital, and in physical therapy, I was able to move and feel.
Were you able to go to school? Were you able to get a job?
The Board of Education, to get me into high school, they didn't want me to go there because I was only going to be the one in a wheelchair, but this school had ramps and elevators for me to go up, but they didn't want me to go there because I was going to be the only one in a wheelchair. My mom said, at least let her try it. If she doesn't, then send her to a different school. Whenever I started doing better, they started letting other handicapped kids come.
That's wonderful. So you were like a trailblazer.
Yes,
So what do?
I'm writing.
You're
short
writing.
Yes,
When did you decide to write this book?
I wrote this book 10 years ago after my grandma died, to give others hope and show that you can live a normal life, and to help people with spinal cord injuries and closed head injuries.
Are you going to keep writing?
Oh, I have two book bags full of books.
That you've written,
Yes.
and now you just have to get them published.
Can I tell you what happened?
Sure.
Where I tried, nobody would believe me. Nobody would give me a chance, and nobody had the patience with me. And nobody believed that I went through this. they thought it was fiction.
Oh,
Why would somebody make this up?
good question, Teresa. And I have no answers for that one. We do have to take a very short break, but we have so much more coming up. Stay with us. This is the Page Publishing Book Club.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything: copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
Welcome back to the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. Keila Harrell started writing her book when her daughter was in kindergarten, and then, as so often happens, her attention was diverted. She tried various publishers over the years and finally found Page. The name of her book is Loved and Lost. Almost an autobiography, right?
The story is Melissa is the main character. Melissa had gone through heartache and pain and trials and tribulations, and she decided that moving away and reinventing herself would bring her life back to order. And in the book, there is quite a bit of twists and turns, and to where you would think it this way, but it's not. And she just opens up herself, and throughout the whole book actually is my life. It's just you would have to be someone who personally is really knows me to be able to pinpoint what exact point is the exact same thing that I did, or the exact thing that I said, or what I was going through.
Okay. Somebody would have to know you very well.
Yes, ma'am. To be able to, because actually I'm every character in that book. Whether it's they said something a certain way, did a certain thing, it's all me. So my book is kind of a combination between fiction and nonfiction, because it's not like it's my autobiography of my life, but it's a big portion of my life. It's in every book that I've written. So far, I have a total of 6 books I'm going to be putting out and a movie title. And my second book that's coming out, Page Publishing, they already have it. It's a poetry book. That is all of my dark period, my personal feelings, my personal writing. So I put myself into what I write, because I'm writing based upon different parts of my life, whether it's current, past, present, or even looking into the future of where I want to go. I express myself through my writing.
You know, this book is about reinventing yourself, pulling yourself out of a situation and just starting all over again. Yes,
ma'am. Also, too, that in order to move forward in life, you have to be able to deal with the past, because in the book, Loved and Lost, Melissa's past comes to play. Very hard, very strong. And it almost, without me trying to give away the book, the storyline, she had to deal with her past in order to move forward, which is what I needed to do and why I moved away. I needed to be able to accept things and deal with things in order to find the happiness that I was truly looking for.
I have heard that before.
The way I wrote this book is it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's not going to be a part 2, because I have 6 other books to write, and it's all me. And it's just that Loved and Lost, the way it began and the way it ended, you could actually feel, and you could actually put yourself in the situation as you're reading along to know, okay, this is what's going on. It's like you can visually see what's happening as you're reading in the book. But where I left it off at, where I ended the book, it's not going to resume anywhere else in any of my other books.
Okay.
Because that was the ending point.
What's the message?
In order to succeed, in order to progress, so we all weather a storm, but you got to be willing to face that storm head on and go through it because there is sunshine at the end. And that's the message of it. It's I went through a storm. And some people could say I ran away from life. No, I didn't run away from life, but I ran away from that storm, trying to reinvent my life. In order to move forward, you have to deal with storm. And back when I wrote the book, I didn't deal with storm. And I came through that storm, which is how now, here in 2017, a book that I began when my daughter was in kindergarten is now out, because I still fight through that storm. But I'm able to share my storm. I'm able to let the world know I'm human. I have storms too, but yet you can overcome because I have overcome that storm.
Right.
And that's the message for Melissa. She had to overcome her storm to see the sunshine in the end.
Nice, Keila. Looking forward to the next 6 books. Just in time for summer, D.B. Butler brings us the Carter Street Gang Summer Vacation.
It's about children on fun, adventure, a little mischief. It's a group of kids. They live in the same neighborhood, and they're just on summer vacation having a great time.
None of these adventures are your own?
No, actually. It just all came to me. I just wanted kids to read the Carter Street Gang and to possibly see themselves in these characters. I wanted to show kids that you can have a group of friends, all different nationalities, all different different backgrounds. Maybe one's from California, maybe one's from the Midwest or what have you. And they just join together and they can be friends. They can have a good time together without being labeled as bad children.
How old are these kids?
Between 9 and 11.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I actually have 5 kids.
Did they inspire you?
Yes, I could definitely see my children in these characters. After I wrote these characters and after I read them, I chuckled to myself because I could see my daughters in the girl character, and I could see my 3 boys in all the male characters. My children are, and I'm not saying this because they are my children, but they are friends with everyone.
Yeah.
My daughter, she makes sure she's the girl who always is nice to the little child that maybe has special needs, may not be like everybody else. The kid that always is picked on, my daughter makes sure she's always friends with them because that's what I've taught all my kids.
We need more of that.
I do agree, and that's why I like the Carter Street Gang. I like this book. If I did not write this book, I probably would have bought this book and read it to my children. So it's going to be a series. I am writing my next book. It's coming to life right now.
Well, good for you, D.B. Butler. How you have the time to do this with 5 kids, I don't know, but you go, girl. When Craig Anderson was in the Navy, he learned all about love and every day kept a journal. And before he knew it, he had a book of poetry. But it took a few decades before he finally found a publisher. And now he's released his book entitled A Sailor of Today. Craig.
Well, actually, it started before I was in the Navy. I went and got married, shotgun wedding, right before I could join. Well, I got married to her and joined the Navy so I could take care of her. And then we ended up getting a divorce, and then I started dating girls, mostly in California. And then after I got out of the Navy, I spent a couple of years going to school at New Mexico State University. That's about all the book covers. When I was in the Navy, I kept a journal. And then as time passed, every once in a while I'd come up with a poem to write. So, I wrote that poem down and then put it in my journal, and slowly they collected quite a few poems over the time. And then my experience of love, or, my life story, is really learning what love is all about, trying to become a person that loves, that gifts of love, and learning of how deep love can go. From there, the more I wanted to learn about love, and the more I had one girlfriend, you know, she gave me a few books about love. I ended up learning what love is really about from the Bible.
Is there one you'd like to read to me?
Okay, here's one.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Titled Forevermore. I've been far and wide, the ocean blue, to the skies I've also been. Happy I was with my lady, happy I'm not without her here. What's a man to do when he lost his only love and cannot find happiness anywhere else? The only happiness to be found is in the struggle to bring her back. When I fail, I fall further than before. I cannot sit here in this hole. I must crawl out and try again. I may fall, but until I do, it's happiness again. If a miracle should happen, it's love forevermore. I just wish to be married to her once more.
That's so sweet. Are you going to keep writing?
No, I haven't done any writing since the mid-'80s. I tried to publish them, but when I was in college, I've lived most of my life below poverty, and I didn't have the money to publish them back in 80 or 85 or so, and they've been just sitting around, and I don't know what came over me. For some reason, I seen your ad, Page Publishing, and I don't know, just a spark came in me that, you know, I'd try and publish them again. And here I am.
Well, here you are, Craig, and good job. Listen, everybody deserves a pat on the back just for going through the process of writing a book and getting it published. It's not easy, but it can be done. Even if you've got a book laying around collecting dust for who knows how long, it can be published. It really can. And if you need ideas, that's why we're here every week. See what these people are writing about? I bet you've got a story inside you right now. All right, this wraps up another edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. If you're tuning in, thanks so much. If you want to hear more, go to 710wor.iheart.com and download anytime you want, any show you want. We're working on another one right now, right, Rob? Look at Rob over there. He's just editing away. That guy. We love him. Enjoy the rest of your week.